This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed by the host of My Brain is a Wonderland are exactly that, views and opinions. This is Emily Ruth Henderson, and I'm the host of My Brain is a Wonderland, the podcast for neurodivergent women and the people who love them. In 2020, after a hellish pandemic, I was diagnosed with ADHD and autism. Surprise! Now, I am passionate about reaching other women just like me who've been pushed aside, ignored, and misdiagnosed for far too long. Each week, I discuss my experience navigating my 30s with these two life-changing diagnoses. There'll be highs, there'll be lows, and everything in between when you join me for Season 3 of My Brain is a Wonderland. Hello everyone, you are back here for My Brain is a Wonderland with me, your host, and I'm so happy to be here again. I am recording this on the weekend before, trying to get ahead of this Wednesday. And before we get started, because I'm just capping off the Masking Autism series today, I just wanted to let everyone know that I think I'm going to be planning to take a summer break on the podcast. And all of the online stuff and all of the literature and everything says, not that there's any literature about podcasts, but says that you should let your audience know early and as soon as you can and kind of prep everyone so it's not a surprise like it has been the last couple of weeks with me dropping the episodes. But I just wanted to let everyone know that I think I'm not going to do any episodes in July at all, and I might stop Season 3 maybe end of May, middle of June, and then start up with Season 4 in the middle of August. And that's just because I need a break, for sure. Not that I need a break from you or sharing this content. It's just a lot of work. And I think there always needs to be a break between seasons. It doesn't really make sense to say Season 3 ended now and Season 4 is next week. That just doesn't make sense. Also, podcast listening tends to go down in the summer. People are on vacation, sitting outside, living the dream, dealing with their kids who are off school. So I think this is probably the perfect time to take that break. And I hope you come back with me in I don't want to say the fall, I don't know when August is, end of summer, I guess, for Season 4. And I also want to take this break to segment these seasons. This the first and second season, the first one was kind of a blindside ending because I had a family emergency, and then I came back with Season 2 and then did a little break over Christmas to get my new microphone that I'm now using, my new equipment, and I want there to be a space between Season 3 and 4. There, when you watch TV, a character goes through stuff while they're gone, right? Like, you'll come back for the new season and they're like, oh my God, I had a baby. Oh my God, I got engaged. Oh my God, do you remember that earthquake that happened? Blah, blah, blah. So I want to make sure I have enough content for you guys. I want to make sure that I'm coming back in with my newer self, 6 weeks to 8 weeks later, having things to discuss that I've been doing, experiencing, and kind of give me that space to think and develop the content instead of having to kind of every week come up with something. What happened to me that's related to being neurodivergent? What am I going through? And so I think that will be helpful for me and it'll be more enjoyable for you. I think I'm going to keep the same theme music because I just absolutely love it. And I'll redo the intro just a little bit because I mentioned Season 3 in the intro. And when we restart Season 4, I'll want to mention Season 4. So just wanted to let everyone know that, and I'll mention it probably on every episode going forward, just that I'm planning to take a break in the summer, and you can always keep up with me on the socials. I'm actually not updating socials right now because I just don't have the time, but when I stop doing the podcast and taking a break, I'll go back to the socials and be posting some short form content and just little updates here and there. All right, so I did promise we're going to finish the Masking Autism series today. I have, as you all know, if you've been listening, going through all of the masking symptoms from Neurodivergent Insights, and they are based off of a survey that was done. They polled like equal amounts, I think it was like 400 or 500 people, equal amounts of like 400 to 500 people who are neurodivergent and 400 to 500 people who are not, and asked them about masking, their experience doing that, what it means to them. And they came up with 3 categories, and we've already gone over the first 2. And we did the first half of the third one, which is being a pretender. So pretending to be maybe something you're not. And I'm going to go over the final 4 symptoms of that type of masking. And they are basically signs or symptoms that you are pretending. So, this would be the 5th symptom, but the first of this episode. You feel the need to put on an act or a facade to navigate social situations. I haven't felt that in a long time, and I think, or I'm not sure if I've ever felt that way, simply because I cannot stop who I am coming out in public. I mean, like I've talked about in all these episodes, I do mask, I do certain things that are masking, mimicking, pretending. But if I'm actually thinking about it, if I'm saying I feel the need to put on a facade or an act, I actually don't. I feel just more anxious, or maybe I do. I just feel more anxious that people are going to experience who I am and be not amenable to that. They're not going to like it. They're going to be judgmental of it, mostly, is what I'm afraid of. I grew up, working class, didn't have a lot of airs and graces. I'm the kind of person who puts their elbows on the table, sometimes chews with their mouth open, sometimes laughs out loud at a fancy restaurant, sometimes swears in a place where maybe socially you're not supposed to. And so the idea of trying to create a fake persona or put on an act or a facade, it doesn't really come to my mind. Really, I'm more thinking about just stamping down who I am instead of creating something to go over the top. So I'll be thinking more like, okay, I need to talk way less than I usually do. I need to not interrupt people. I need to not mention murder. I need to not laugh out loud maniacally. That is my classic laugh when I'm happy, excited, is very loud, very guffawing. Not maybe what a certain type of woman would be like, someone who knows how to act socially. And I've always had those issues. Even when I was a kid, I remember going to a friend's house and, they had a dining room and they, had a house and stuff. They had a yard. And they had, they were middle class. They weren't like ridiculously rich or anything, but they were middle class. And I remember having dinner with them. And the dad, it was a mom, dad, son, and daughter. And I was friends with the daughter and we knew the son. And the dad just could not stand me because I ate with my mouth open. And that actually at the time was because I had asthma. I had asthma, I had hay fever. I had, allergies, all the things, and I couldn't breathe through my nose when I ate, so I would eat with my mouth open, and it drove him crazy. And it's one of those things that, oftentimes you're kind of trained when you're younger not to do. Like, don't do that in company, that's not okay. And I wasn't really ever trained to do that. The one thing my mom always tried to train me on, and it wasn't because of my neurodivergency, it was because we were working class, is she wanted me to talk a certain way. So working class people from where I come would speak a certain way, would say water. And she always, and that was water, by the way, if anyone wondered what that word was, it was water. And she always said, pronounce your T's, water, all the time, because she didn't want people to know that I came from where I came from. And so sometimes I also think that my need to dampen myself down or worry about what people think and how people are judgmental of me in social situations is because of that. Is because instead of saying, instead of my mom saying you are who you are, be proud of that you are intelligent, you're educated, you're a great, wonderful person, that you speaking a certain way doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you speak in a way that people think you're poor. But also, again, so maybe I would be more confident about that than being, kind of feeling people would be judgmental of me. But also on the flip side, I totally get it, because my mom was trying to get me out of our situation, get me through college, get me into a job, get me, was kind of saying, like, I want you to succeed, and you might not succeed in a place if people know that you're working class or judge you for that. So it's very complicated, but I don't think I actually do that. The putting on an act or a facade or feeling the need to. I more just feel the need to just damp down quiet who I am. Make myself less than who I am. All right, the next one is you try to avoid or minimize interactions with others in social settings. I mean, social settings, I try to do that all the time. I avoid or minimize interactions. I mean, when I'm at work, so I've worked in a variety of places. I've worked in, primarily before this current job, retail, small franchise, and nonprofits. And I had worked in one larger nonprofit where there were about 60 to 70 people employed. But otherwise, in retail, I mean, if you work in a store, and I'm not talking like a Walmart supercenter, I can't imagine how many people work there, but you probably still get to know each other pretty well. I worked in pretty small retail stores, probably a crew of less than 20. When I was a Blockbuster manager, I was the manager, I had a co-manager, an assistant manager, and then I think 11 or 13 store associates. So that's, 15 people that you know, total. 15 people that you need to know at work. That's it. We would have the RD, the regional director, come round, and that was the person who would help stores, right? All the stores in their local area. But really, 15 people. I worked for a franchise, company, like in a franchise store or a franchise studio. And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, less than 10 people, maybe 6 to 8 people, including myself. And that's what I'm really used to, is being able to know everyone that I work with, and that there aren't many of them. Currently, I work in a building with, 300 to 500 people, probably. And I don't know most of them. You're walking to the bathroom, you're walking to the break room, and you're kind of having to give this, smile, hi, hello, but you don't know them. Or you've met them in some awkward situation, some icebreaker, or some meeting that was happening at a luncheon or something. And then, do you say hello to people? Do you not? So I'm very much the person at work. Probably a year ago, I would literally walk into work, go to my desk. I would up my desk, because I have an up and down desk, so I do the standing desk. It's great for my ADHD. I'd put my headphones on as soon as I got to work, and I wouldn't take them off until I left. I'd take them off to go to the bathroom. Some people don't. They have AirPods. I still have wired headphones, guys, at work. Some people have AirPods, and I see them walking around in the kitchen, going to the bathroom with their AirPods in, so they're literally not interacting with anyone. But I would do that all the time, and very much kept to myself unless I was talking to the people who were, sharing a cubicle wall with me. I've actually realized that in a way, not in a way, it does isolate you from having social interactions, from gaining any friends you might gain from being at work with people every day. And it also is not good for you developing at work. If you want to progress and get a new position, get promoted at a work where there's hundreds of people that you don't know, you have to do the dreaded networking. I'm not good at networking. I don't like it. It's small talk that I feel is just fake, and we all know why we're doing it. We're networking so we can leverage that later. So I can get a favor from you, so I can get a new position because you knew me already. And so what I've actually started doing now is I don't put my headphones on as soon as I go in. So I would put my headphones on and people would trickle in. Like if I got there at 8:45, people would be trickling into work the next 45 minutes, and I'd have my headphones on and no one would say hello to me. I wouldn't say hello to them. It was kind of strange. So now I wait at least an hour, maybe 2, and kind of get a feel for the room. Make sure I say hello to everyone who's in my department. Make sure I get a feeling for if anything's happening, as in like social things, like talking about stuff. Oh, how was your weekend? Oh, there's a free lunch at work today. Doop-de-doop. And then I'll put my headphones on and then take them off periodically. And so, yeah, I hate doing that. I hate being in social settings. I hate having to interact. It's just a stress. I just want to have to do my work. But I've gotten a lot better at mitigating it and doing more to push it, but not too much. And in social situations, I mean, yeah, please get me out of there. It's like a nightmare. If I go somewhere and someone's like, oh, I invited 10 of my friends, like, here we go. I'm going to die. All right, the next one is social situations feel like performances rather than opportunities for authentic connection. That's an interesting one. I don't know that they feel like performances to me. I think maybe they are performances but don't feel that way. I mean, I'm just performing who I am, really. But they often don't feel like opportunities for authentic connection. If I already have a connection with you and we're hanging out because we enjoy each other's company so much, for example, you've been working with someone for 2 years and they're like, let's go get drinks. And you're like, yeah, let's do it, digging it, love it, awesome. But if it's someone that you're trying to get to know, right? Like they're kind of an acquaintance, you've spoken to them superficially, but they don't really know much about you other than you have 2 dogs and a husband. You don't know much about them, except they like Disney and they have a child, right? And then you have to, like, go hang out with them. That can feel like a bit of a nightmare. I don't drive currently, so I take the bus, and if there's an event for work or something, I'll often ask people that, hitch a ride. I'll take Uber a lot too, but if they're around me or we're going from work to the same place, I'll ask, can I get a ride with you? And then I'll take an Uber home after. They're like, of course, sure. And sometimes I remember one time there was a girl that I didn't work with. She was in my department. She was a few desks away. And I got like a standoffish vibe from her. And I think she got a standoffish vibe from me. So she very well may be neurodivergent. And then we had like a work dinner set up. And I said to her, hey, can I get a ride with you? And I was anxious about asking. And she said, yeah. And we totally vibed in the car. Like I felt like, oh, I'm actually really comfortable with you. But then recently I rode with someone in the car from work. And I thought, and we know each other superficially, pretty superficially at work. We've been in the trenches a little bit together, but pretty superficially. And I thought, oh, she's cool. Like, it's totally fine. And she is totally cool and nice and everything. But man, did we not vibe at all. I mean, I got in that car and it was like being locked in a cage with just your opposite. And I don't mean opposite like politically the things she was talking about, I couldn't care less about. And so I was having to fake it, having to say, oh, interesting, great, oh, yeah. And then you're having to ask questions about people, right? To get them talking or to be like, seem interested. And I'm saying like, oh, what's, your daughter like, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I don't have kids. I don't care who about this woman's family, really. And I would have more if I felt like we were vibing, like we could hang out later. But it was so clear that you were so sweet. You were so good at your job. We worked great together, but we would never hang out together. Ever. Like, it was so obvious. She was very vanilla. Very like, I'm with my husband and my daughter, and we like to go to Disney. That was it. And complained about her family. That was it. And I'm more of like, I go to conventions. What movies have you seen? Do you like to smoke weed? What's your vibe? And it just wasn't, I don't know. It just didn't work. And again, very nice person. And I'm sure she thinks the same about me. But for me, it felt like pulling teeth. For me, it felt like, okay, nothing is flowing naturally here. Nothing is authentic. I need to fake it. And I really don't like that. And it's not that I wouldn't hang out with her or anything like that. But in terms of having a close friendship with her, probably unlikely. And I think it gets more common maybe when you have kids. But those relationships where you're like, oh, my friend, let's all hang out together. Like we're all moms or we're all gals doing this. And you're like, yeah, but we would never hang out otherwise, and we bond over work and that's it. Or bond over having a child, but that's it. So that was kind of an interesting perspective I had over connecting with people. And then the final sign that you are masking autism through pretending is interacting with others requires a conscious effort and feels forced. I mean, I just spoke to that, right? Not everybody, not everyone. And I think oftentimes the people that I do feel an authentic connection with, unknowingly at the time, they turn out to be neurodivergent. Either they don't know or they do know and they haven't come out. But oftentimes when I connect with people, I'm like, are you neurodivergent? Are you? Like I'm really connecting with a woman at work right now. I don't know if she's connecting with me, but I'm feeling like we are. And we were talking about something and I said I was going to an event after work. And we were just chatting, and then she brought up how she'd been to the same event and someone had died at that event. And just was talking about how they died. It was awful. She has PTSD from it. She could never go back, have fun. And then she was like, oh, but sorry, didn't mean to. And in my mind, I went, wait, are you neurodivergent? Are you neurodivergent? Because you literally just brought up in a pretty inappropriate moment. Not that I thought it was inappropriate. I was like, tell me everything. Tell me the death, the murder, whatever. How did they die? What happened? But she brought it up when I was saying, hey, I'm going to go and enjoy this thing. And she immediately related it to this kind of devastating experience she had had. That I think in most situations, right, I've talked about this before, when I'm like, oh, there was a murder there in that city you're from. I'm so excited to tell you about it. I felt like she wanted to tell me this, like, this was my experience, this is so cool, or this is so, not cool, but like interesting, and this happened to me. And I thought, that's kind of neurodivergent, that you just like blurted out and started talking about this like horrible thing. And I was like, I'm connecting with you super hard right now because of that. And so it does feel forced when I have to communicate with certain people. I do have to make a conscious effort with certain people. And I think a lot of those are neurotypical people, particularly neurotypical women. I just don't get you. I don't understand you. I don't know. I just don't get it. I remember when I was a professional dancer and there would be like, women just in the dressing room, we'd be getting dressed like all naked. Like topless naked, and they're just talking to each other. And then they would like be talking to me. And I'm like, okay. And I'd be fully clothed. And I'm like, wait, am I supposed to be naked right now? And then I'd try to get dressed like hiding my body from people. And they were just like, oh, I'm like, we barely know each other. What is this? Is this womanhood? Because if it is, I don't know it. Like it just, the amount of contact they need generally. I found that neurotypical women want to text you, like multiple times a day. And if you don't respond, then it's like, okay, so you're not interested. And I'm like, bro, I just need, like, can we do like twice a week, maybe? Like, I don't know. They just want to talk all the time. They want to do things all the time. And I really just don't connect with that experience. I want to do stuff a lot and I want to have fun and this kind of thing, but I want to do it on my own or with my husband or have an experience that doesn't involve like 10 people all the time and having to arrange, hanging out and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's definitely been a struggle for me. And when I'm in a situation like that, I'm kind of trying to act like I'm cool with it. Like, oh, it's great. I love being here with all of you talking a bunch about whatever. And this is the, third time in a month that you've wanted to do this. And it's funny, actually, my husband said to me, I think it was literally on the 20th of March. And he said, hey, it's his friend that he met from work. I know her. I wouldn't say we're like friends. She usually texts him. She doesn't text me to set anything up. Like once you get friends with your husband's like friend who's a woman and then she's actually texting you and now we're the better friend. That's not what happened here. And I love her. She's awesome. Love hanging out with her. Super sweet, super fun. And she said, it's my birthday next month on the 20th of April. Do you want to come to my birthday? And my husband said, is that okay? And I was like, yes, a month's notice, I'm in. This woman is usually like, hey, do you want to come out tonight and then tomorrow and on Friday, and you don't know anyone who's coming and it's a new place you've never been at. And I'm just like, no, this is too much. Like, this is too much. I cannot, like, if my husband says, like, do you want to go out tomorrow night? I'm just like, dude, I can't even hear what you're saying. Like, I'm saying no, and I won't say no. I'll just be super overwhelmed. And I'm like, clearly from my reaction, the answer is no. Like, clearly. So she gave me a month's notice and said, it's my birthday. Do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, I'm in. That sounds great. But I needed a month's notice. I don't know her that well. We've hung out, socialized a couple of times, like gone drinking with friends, been to her house. She's been to our house multiple times. I mean, God, maybe, does this sound like I should know her better than I do? Does it sound like I should feel more authentic around her? She's been to our house, 20 times, maybe more than that. I've been to her house a couple of times for July 4th party, things like that. I don't know. We went to a Mattis Yahoo concert, but these are all things where it's like loud, right? Or you're like dancing, so there's like too loud. Or you're at her house and there's like 40 other people there. I don't know, but maybe I should be connecting faster than I am. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, that's the end of the Masking Autism series. I'm not sure what I'm going to be bringing you next week. I might just kind of try to dig deep into what I'm going through right now. The real issue is that I'm going through a lot of work stuff and I can't talk about it. It's not appropriate to talk about the ins and outs of that. And so I'm really trying to think about stuff that I want to address that's happening with me right now that isn't related to that. So I might start a new series, or I might just think, really dig deep, or just try to get out of the work brain to see what I'm thinking about. But as always, thank you for your support. If you want to reach out to me, my brain is a wonderlandpod@gmail.com. And please leave a 5-star review. If you're listening, you are enjoying this, so please leave a 5-star review. It takes 2 seconds, not even, half a second maybe, to do that. If you leave a written review on Apple, I will read it out, and I will read out your username and thank you most kindly. Most of you are listening on Apple Podcasts. I can see the stats. So please do that if you are liking what you're hearing. And I will see you again, hopefully fingers crossed, next week for another episode of My Brain is a Wonderland, Season 3. Bye-bye.